Wow.
Great. How are you?
Good.
Yeah. How are you?
I know this is super high tech. We're gonna play the music right off my phone.
Why not? Do it.
Yeah.
Love this. Are we okay with the background noise? We're being in the Grand Central Station right now.
I think this is gonna all pick us up, right?
Perfect.
So, welcome everybody to a special episode of Silicon Zombies, where you get the best brains in the Bay to beyond. We're joined by here with some wonderful innovators in the medtech space. So, shout out to the Stanford Innovation Center, the Biotech Symposium, which is happening here in San Francisco, California. So we've got some wonderful guests today. So first and foremost, Paul's business partner, Paul Gruel, who's helping run the show. Vinny, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, and James as well, building amazing stuff. We're going to dive right in.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And of course, Dr. Arbella Sarkis. So thank you so much, Dr. Arbella, for being here as well. Well, let's set the table. Oh. So the pickup with what should be fine from an audio perspective. But no, I appreciate the consideration. Do you have? Oh, beautiful. All right. See, this is live. We're doing great. Okay. So, Vinny, kick us off here. We're excited to see at the Stanford Innovation Center. What fascinates you about the biotech space? Help us understand.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I actually came from creative agency side, and sort of what we're JB and I and JD and Paul, we're building a creative studio to help support early stage startups in the biotech medtech field. And so this is just my first introduction to this world.
Throwing in the deep end.
Throwing in the deep end.
Great.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's mind blowing. Sort of the conversations, the technology, the things that are happening here. That's just, and it's trying to do some good for the world, for people, and it's a great place to be. So
Very
exactly.
Yeah, and same for me. I mean, I think that purpose of, Paul is very adamant. Paul from SIC Venture Studio, his goal is to cure cancer for the world. And there's something beautiful about that. As Vinny was saying, we have actually got a good history together. He and I used to work together back in 2007, 2008, 2011. These various studios, but coming back together, we really love this collective idea of building creative assets, and language, and narrative for companies that it's fairly underserved as a market. It's kind of something that we see as an opportunity for them, but also for us to tap into our expertise of branding and creativity and design to really make these companies stand out, get investment, have the ability to really stand out in a crowded market.
It's because
really
you get the storytelling complemented with the deep sciences.
That's right.
So it's like this diverse distribution of brains that come together. So it's not just an echo chamber. We also have the science base. And speaking of which, this brings us to Dr. Sarkis. Dr. Sarkis, welcome.
Yes, hi. So I'm a family physician. I'm practicing in Los Gatos, California. My focus is dementia. Unfortunately, dementia is a disease of centuries getting worse and worse as we go after the pandemic. Many side effects with the environment, exposure, and plastic is another one. And right now, I'm really focusing. And basically, what happens is medication reverses dementia, all kind of dementia. Unfortunately, there is a new form of dementia called frontotemporal. There is no treatment. It's affecting younger generation in age 50, 52, that age. And it's very aggressive. There is no medication that will help these patients. And TB 006, which has been approved, in June of 2023 by FDA for compassionate use is under investigation or medicine treatment is a fusion and helps patients to reverse their dementia.
And it's pretty much like night and day. You know,
Oh,
you go from somebody who's crumpled up in a ball, muttering to themselves, to the very next day or after treatment, they're walking around and talking with their family like nothing's wrong.
Not just that, we had patient in New York, and this patient basically was not well home. He was not even talking. After few treatments, he started driving his
Oh my
car.
gosh.
Presently, we have patients coming from Paris, from Poland, from UK and Canada to come in and get the treatment because medication is infused only in the United States. And we are getting that been approved to be sent to Hong Kong, and Honduras is the next country now we are working with. But these two countries are already, and Singapore, I heard that they are in the process of getting approval for the treatment of the dementia.
And if I recall correctly, your mother was your first patient.
Yes, my mom.
Help us
90,
understand
yeah.
about that.
My mom, 90-year-old, typical dementia patient, homebound, not much any physical activity, of course not much mental activity as well. She had malignant hypertension on top of her dementia. So one thing that I did, I treated her for dementia right after the treatment. This is amazing. 1 week after, she told her caregiver, "Get me my red suit." She loves red. And she put the red suit and she went to visit my brother. I couldn't believe it. She was not leaving the house for months. On the other hand, this medication being a kind of anti-inflammatory treatment, it goes after all the diseases and mostly heart. And patients with congestive heart failure, with atrial fibrillation, arrhythmias, and all that kind, they benefit as well. My mom had malignant hypertension. She matched on 6 treatments, matched those all the available categories, and still her blood pressure was 160, 170 in good days. Right after treatment, I didn't expect it. That was a miracle. She's presently only on half of the, she's only on 3 medications. Her blood pressure runs between 120 and 130.
I see. And it's helpful for us to have like these mini mental tests to be able to judge how far somebody's cognitive decline is. Because you got to tell the stories and help people understand. And so it sounds like this is an area of expertise you guys can fill in
Well,
on.
yeah, I think what I'm hearing is a beautiful story tonight. I have a question really, like, in terms of like getting the word out. You'll understand what it is that this community can do. Is there like a barrier there? Is there a communication that you feel would be better served? What we specialize in is taking a very complex subject, complex treatment, and turning it into very much anything. So I was wondering if there's a communication area.
No, it's not a communication, it's awareness. That's why we are here. That's why we are going to A4M is a like a seminars or conferences that is approved by FDA and boards. They investigate for functional medicine. So this medication must be infused only by MDs. And some nurse practitioners that they are allowed and licensed to have infusion centers. So it's mostly, but it's number one, just been approved. Unfortunately, due to pandemic and COVID, everything was, dormant. So June of 2020, assistant, we got it off the ground, and presently we have more than 120 physicians around United States that they are using the medication. So slowly, I actually we did great job. That's why you are here, not for just the doctors, but for patients to say there is a hope. Our parents, how sad is not to even remember your name, their grandchildren, new home, sedentary. And that costs a lot, even going to facilities. Believe me, private facilities cost about $8 to $10,000 per month. And
Well,
see,
so the unit economics make sense to approach something like this too. And, so this is clearly revolutionary stuff.
Right.
Are you guys also seeing like some pretty cool innovations in this space? Or what are some companies that are really interesting for you?
I think one of the companies that we've actually been helping recently, which Jamie will probably elaborate more on, is a company that's basically targeting cancer cells and delivering systems.
Wow. Yes, it's a really, really amazing. Zero side effects. The ability to target cell directly at the core and center, deliver it using nanoparticle technology has allowed us to share the positive nature of how this thing can really come to life. It's absolutely crucial. And again, it fuels that vision that we have to help these companies articulate those things, create awareness around how these things exist. Brad, Brad, he was able to take the streamlined story that we created about technology to angel contest. We won that event. First place winner.
Congrats. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
funding support for it has additional support already happening. So just these companies have an amazing understanding of how to solve people's problems. We just come in and help articulate that.
Exactly.
And understand.
You got the yin and the yang. Yeah, speaking of which, Michael Mann, who's our guest host today. Michael, do you want to hop in the hot seat and ask a couple questions here?
Right. Michael.
It's awesome to be here. We're all in San Francisco right now at JPM, and we got some creatives here and a doctor. I mean, you're really unlocking dementia. The challenge is dementia. This is a very personal thing, for all of us. My dad's 92 and he's on hospice with dementia, and so. Our healthcare system's so challenged, and to hear what you're saying is just amazing. So, what can we see in the next 6 months to 9 months with what your great work that you're working on?
so right now we are in phase 2B with the FDA. It takes unfortunately a few years to get that fully by insurance. So medication right now is compatible, but the beauty of the medication is not for the money-wise or insurance purposes, is how it works. It works with the multitude of other diseases. And one of the things that I really had experience in my office with my patient, it was Parkinson's disease. Patients that they had dementia and Parkinson's disease, believe me, halfway through the treatment, their speech comes back because I keep talking to them, teaching them what else to do, diet, food restriction, microbiome of the intestine, and food to avoid that it can cause inflammation of the brain. And I see as they leave in the office, their weight improves. They can walk much better. Regardless of other diseases involved with the dementia that they would get benefit, is also to see other dear family members. Like your father is in a nursing home, in a hospice care, or whatever. You pay, you can enjoy daddy, and your father still is heart is working, heart is good, kidney is good, everything else is good, but brain doesn't work. How much is worth having this treatment to have them at home, enjoy them, travel with them, getting involved with their family activities, and still enjoy their grandchildren, and getting them out of that dark room of dementia. Really, exactly. Imagine if even one of us is dementia. Nobody talks to you. You don't know what to say. If you say something, everybody laughs at you. You prefer not to talk. With dementia, not only affects the memory, it affects gaze. Gaze, migration to the end state. They don't know how to swallow. Yeah, they have to do GT. Some family members do that, which is, oh my God, it's a no-no. So we try to prevent all that and get rid of people of extra diseases that can come with dementia.
It sounds like what you're really doing is it's all about this metabolic health, longevity. We're hearing it's a new way to look at it. What is going on? I know a lot of these treatments we don't know exactly the what or the there, how they work. But can you share a little bit what your thoughts are on that?
So if we go back that how these diseases they start any diseases, it comes from guts. Leaky guts and leaky vessels. So everything through intestine that we absorb through food, contamination, colorant, conservativity. It gets up to the intestine, goes to the blood, pass to the brain, irritates the macroglia. Macroglia, they are neurons and causes degeneration. You know, like the joints, we get osteoarthritis, we get degeneration in the brain cells. And those, they are producing plaques like tau protein, beta amyloid proteins. They are very sticky, and those causes brain to shrink. Once you use TB006, it goes after these flags, these tau proteins, and galectin-3. Destroying that, you start the circulation and regeneration, and patient starts to walk, and other patient look driving. Is it wow? This medication can be work. The beauty of this medication is the safety profile. And I had patient with chemo. Actually, I didn't know. I just treated him for dementia. He came back. His marker for chemo that he was doing, marker for cancer went down to 50%. Why? Cancer is caused by chronic inflammation. As well as we have patients that they are on Coumadin and Xarelto, all these anticoagulants. My mom is on Eliquis. No medication needs to be changed or stopped because of using TB06. It's very safe. So it works every penny of it. So
It's like changing a car and oil after letting it sit for 50 years. It just reflects pressures, everything. It's like everything comes back to life. Like a new I'm a person that's very much into the biohacking side of things. I run a strict carnivore diet. I don't eat anything with raw information. I'm very aware of that. I've noticed huge benefits just by doing that, just by switching out on inflammatory-based foods that cause myriad of issues. I've seen reduction in joint pain. I've seen no gut issues. I don't get bloating. Anything. It's amazing how when you omit a bunch of things that cause issues, what really does cause problems, you try and do those things again. Like repeat so much, I'm like, no. We'll see. See how it goes. But I avoid all those things now. It's massive. Of course, I'm not religious. The inflammation issue, I think, is something that needs to be highlighted a lot more regularly. I think they really know this
myself, when I do the treatment because it lasts 1 hour, I literally sit with my patients one by one, going to gluten, corn, berries, peanut, all this sugar, soy, everything. And now I read a handout of plastic, food contains plastic, it's scary. They found plastic in the brain. A biopsy for patients that they passed away with dementia, they are seeing plastic in the blood of people that donate blood because they have to. It's scary. Like you mentioned, all comes from guts.
Yes.
Inflammation, and once you remove all those, not only helps with the multitude of other organs, joints, liver, kidney, diabetes. This medication reverses even diabetes, believe it or not.
That's amazing.
Because affect pancreas everywhere.
Yeah.
So
all those things you mentioned as well create cognitive decline in healthy people. Yeah. Like if I omit soy and gluten, I'm much clearer in my mind than if I don't.
yes.
So I do it for operational work purposes, just for being able to think clearly. It's just changes everything. So it's amazing what you're doing.
I love what you're saying, how it's applicable to all of us. This isn't just, I mean, I know your breakthrough technology and your treatment is really specific for dementia, but I love how you're talking and referencing microplastics and all these things now that I'm hoping is there is this new awareness in our world that people as consumers, you know, it's like the consumer play with health as well, like spatulas, the Teflon. So hopefully this will be a new.
I just threw away all my spatulas.
Yeah.
I literally did that. Switched everything to wood.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have any plastic. I don't have any Teflon. No non-stick. It's like all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
So my goal with my patients, with the younger, I don't want my younger patients having dementia. So with all of them, as they come for the first time in my visit, I have a handout to avoid certain foods. And I definitely tell him, don't buy vitamins because they are cheap, they are on sale. You look at the other ingredient, you read other ingredient, because a lot of these additives, they are one that causes brain inflammation. And it's not just for dementia. I have tons of people with autism, ADD, anxiety, depression, sleeping issue, all of it, obesity. It's all diet related.
Absolutely. And after I did that, I had insomnia for years, which was chronic, and it solved that problem completely for me. My blood sugar levels were spiking constantly throughout the night, so I was waking up, not able to sleep. My cortisol levels were off the charts. It was just a roller coaster of things, and I would take supplements to try and solve it, and it was all diet related, sugar, alcohol, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think anyway, there's things you can do before you get to later in life, but I think what you've created is obviously something that everyone should be aware of. Awareness is so key. Yeah.
But medicine, unfortunately, is more geared to Western medicine.
Right.
Give pills.
Yes.
Give that,
Treat
because
symptoms.
otherwise, even doctors, they are aware of side effects. We are afraid of being sued.
Right.
So if we are
Say,
handcuffed, what to tell the patient. And most of the doctors, unfortunately, because they have to make money to survive and pay the bills, they spend very, very little time with the patients.
Right.
I have my own private practice. I don't care. I just spend as much as I want. I sit and talk to them about things that
And
they
your
should not
practice sounds like an integral functional medicine. Like you've done it in a way where you're not stuck to that 6 to 12, 15 minutes. Like you really are functional, holistic health too.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I love, I've talked to doctors in the past about how I eat and what I consume, and they're open to it, but a lot of them don't have knowledge or understanding as to how these things work, because they've got to work with the things they have, right? All the knowledge they have, or they have a program. So it's really great to hear that you understand those things and that you support that, because I think we need more people like yourself that you can rely on as well, not just to give me the medication, but also have a conversation with me about things I can do in my day-to-day life as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And I think one of the things that I do want to mention is that sort of taking all of this information and to the world outside of first world countries because the thing is, when you were talking, I was just kind of thinking about plastics and Teflon and all of that stuff in third world countries, and where these options are not necessarily available, but like a lot of these issues are very prevalent, and people don't talk about it, and they don't have the opportunity to be able to get there. But hopefully, sort of the charge in terms of communication, awareness can help sort of get everybody sort of in a place where it makes makes a difference.
Awareness is so important.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing, and yes, we are at this place called San Francisco, where the magic of JP Morgan happens, and we're talking all things biotech, and we're going to segue to a new special guest. Cool. Ella, are you going to come on, or are you going to come? I guess you're going to. Yeah. So I think you're switching out. Okay. Awesome. Yes, Ella's going to take the seat, and she's going to get the hot microphone. She's coming in.
We're starting out. Okay.
This is
Hi.
fine.
Hi.
Hi.
I just learned I'm doing this about 3 minutes ago.
Oh yeah. Well, yes, I think we're all in the same boat.
Okay, sweet.
That's
I'll have some water.
getting tossed into the hot seat is
Nice to meet you.
the thing here.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
yeah.
All right. What do we do now?
I don't know.
We just keep talking.
Yeah.
All right.
So we are, this is Vinny, and I'm Jamie, head of creative for the SIC Venture Studio creative side of the company. So Paul Grail, he's running the event here today. We're the creative arm of that business. We help startups, early stage mostly, build stories and brands and create awareness for them outside into the world to create pitch decks or whatever they need to help get funding, but also just to create a brand wrapper around their technology and sort of simplify the complexity of the science into a written prose that people can understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we have some cool science that we've been we've been working on. Yeah.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I am a co-founder of a couple of companies that are both based on the same principle. And it's sort of one that's, you think is pretty obvious, but it's not. We work with molecules that make viruses better. Now, why would you want to make viruses better? Because viruses are the foundation of things like vaccines and gene therapies.
Yeah, right.
And when we want these viruses to work, we either want them to be produced better, which is that actually done in cells, or we want them to work better in our bodies, which is also done in cells. But here's the fun thing about cells. They hate viruses. So when you're trying to make a virus do something good in a cell, you really have to make that cell more amenable to it. You have to make it not try to kill the virus that it's trying to. You have to convince it otherwise, exactly. So what we've developed in a company called SIC Biotech, and soon to be launched sister company, which TBD coming, yeah.
Very good.
Is a set of these molecules that allow viruses to be produced more efficiently. So they reduce that friction between the virus and the cell, and they essentially act as fertilizer for viruses. We get more virus out of the same amount of cells, and we can make those cheaper and get essentially more efficient at producing cell and gene therapies.
Wow, that's very interesting.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Very, very interesting. So I think as we've been sort of meeting around, we've worked on with a few companies, particularly in the cancer research.
Yeah.
So recently we worked with a company called Arise to recreate their pitch presentation for them. And they were looking for funding and sort of like trying to break into the market.
Yeah.
So it's been really successful. They've done a really good job, and they came first place at AngelCon last year in San Diego, which is really great with the presentation we created for them. But in terms of getting the message out there and sort of the story that you're trying to promote, how's that been? How have you? What challenges have you been up against? And what would you look for if you had something where someone or company, for example, that could help you with that?
Yeah. So with Dirica, we've been very successful at getting the story out, mostly because we've actively tried to be experts. We've tried to position ourselves as experts in production of viral vectors and in the immune responses that are triggered by these viral vectors. So it is a very specific kind of expertise. And so we've done quite a lot on LinkedIn and webinars and other public speaking forums to highlight to people about the challenge of antiviral defenses in these host cells, and talk about what the importance of that is, and then talk about other things you can do, including using our small molecules. So that's gone very well. With the sister company again, which is sort of not really announced yet. I think we're going to be in some different kinds of worlds. We're going to be looking at technologies that have not worked so well in the past, but will work now more so better with the technology that we have with our addition. So a challenge for us, I think, is going to be positioning ourselves in the way that says we are going to be a solution to something, a new thing, but it's big, but having to do it in a way that doesn't sound too negative, if you know what I mean. Right? You never want to be like, well, it sucked, right? Like the other thing sucked.
Or you mentioned about making bad things good. There's something really exciting to me about that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Quentin Tarantino like line or something. Like it's like I can feel the movie of that. But do you find that when you talk about making viruses better, does that resonate, or do you find that? And also, in terms of your target audience, is it sort of more scientific minded, okay, so it's people that understand what you're trying to say. They don't need it to be wrapped necessarily in something more high level.
General.
High level.
No, it is mostly talking to a very technical audience.
Very
People,
technical.
generally speaking, like, understand. I mean, I think people don't really necessarily realize that that's an issue. So we are highlighting a particular issue that the field of experience that I think is now becoming more commonplace and better known. So that's been very well received. It's just it's always I think it's the challenge is saying, well, you're going to make things better, but you can't really say that the other thing didn't really work, right? You can't really go so negative. So you really have to focus on the positive and talk about and talk about how you're gonna solve a very specific scientific technical challenge.
I feel like being honest and true to what it is you're trying to do sometimes can create a connection there. You know, if you are honest about what hasn't worked, people like to be aware of things, I think, and like not be glossed over and sort of have that be ignored. It's like, well, wait a minute, I did some research and this happened in the past or whatever. So sometimes calling that out can there's a way to do it that isn't negative, but it needs to be wrapped in the positivity, of course. But I think being clear can sometimes be really a good thing. It's being honest about it. I'm curious, Dr. Arabella, about your side of things as well. When you talk about dementia, obviously dementia is a very heavy subject. How has it been for you on your side in terms of talking about that? Like, how does it trigger responses in people in ways that are hard to navigate around? Or it's a very sensitive subject, isn't it? I mean, I can't think of anything more sensitive almost. Like losing your loved one to dementia is The Notebook, right? The movie. I mean, have you seen The Notebook, right?
You know, the surprising thing is that most of my patients, they are coming to me now, younger generation, you know, younger people in their 40s, late 40s, or early 50s. They say, Doc, I have brain fog. I can't remember. I can't recall things.
Yeah.
I have to look for the words. And I said, oh my God, that early, you know, and it happens. So I truly believe, again, we go back to our diet and inflammation of the brain, that is coming up more and more exposure, longer exposure, more environmental, diet, whatever. And of course, stress, not sleeping, all of that affects the brain and memory. So most of the patients at this age, maybe in Silicon Valley, maybe they are more open-minded, they just come forward themselves. They talk to you very openly because they are frustrated. But with the regular patients of mine, age 65 and above, every year I check them for memory. I have a memory test. I make sure that they are not dropping, they are not lowering their score, because I get aggressive. I don't want them to be demented. But with the already demented one, now that we have option, I offer them. I tell them there is such a medication, very, very safe, no drug interaction, and it works. For some people, dramatic improvement. For some patients, some slower improvement. And that goes back to their age, and how long they've been demented, and with the baseline memory test that they do, and the score. Lower is the score, more treatment they will need to have. But you know, many of them, they just I have brochures, and they see it, they ask about it for their parents. So different ways. Or patient ask for themselves, or I check them out every year, or they have loved one that they are interested to know. So that's how they come to learn about this new medication.
And you have brochures, you said?
Yes, I do.
Wonderful. Yes. And those kinds of, and how many of those do you have? Is there a set amount of communication assets that you have, or awareness assets that you have in terms of delivering the information? Is it in one place? Is it website?
I mean, of course, I have brochure in every room. Unfortunately, this is like a visits that they come in for whatever annual exam. We don't have too much time to talk. But once they have or themselves, as I said, or they see brochure, then we start the conversation.
Right. Yeah. That sounds good. Wonderful.
I'm actually wondering about, so you're talking about new technology that's enabling you to, you know, with your sister company to sort of attack the problem maybe in a different way. Are you able to talk about sort of, what that is, or not specifically?
Yeah.
Just in general, in terms of what wasn't available in the past, and and I don't know where we live in the AI world with these conversations, but like, are you using that type of technology to help?
Well, so I suppose I can speak generically. So
Yes,
please.
please.
Well, it's a fairly specific generic. Let's call it that way. The company. The companies that I co-founded were a result of 15 years of work by our scientific co-founder, who's been working on something called an oncolytic virus. So an oncolytic virus is a generic term that means a virus that can actually kill tumors. So they're biologically somehow, not somehow, very specific. There's a lot of science behind it, but they're biologically enabled to essentially kill tumor cells. Even though that has worked for some patients and some tumors, it really hasn't worked very well in the broad population. So clinical trials have not gone very well with oncolytic viruses for a variety of reasons, we believe now, and people have evolved these obviously over the years. But the one problem that nobody really has overcome yet, and what we're suggesting will be an answer in certain tumors, is our ability to reduce that antiviral defense in the tumor cells and allow the virus to actually spread and kill the tumors more. So that's the technological twist.
Got it.
The challenge, though, is there's been history with oncolytic viruses where they haven't worked. So what we're saying now is we have this additional technology that is going to make it better. It's going to make it work. And so there's obviously more to the story. And as we develop the company, it will become more clear. But that's really where we're going.
Yes. All right. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with new guests and new things to talk about.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You almost fall off your chair.
Oh yeah, no worries.
It was nice to meet you.
That
Nice,
was
great to meet you.
as
Wonderful
well.
chatting with you.
Thank you.
I love it. That was really fun.
For being proactive with your diet.
Yes. Thank you for reassuring me. Yeah. Oh, they're like, oh wow, okay, this is new. I did all my meds, my blood work recently. Everything's perfect. It's like gone. Yeah. Anxiety. Oh my goodness. I was riddled with anxiety. That's why my insomnia was there. It's all stacked up. Cortisol was so high.
One of my patients, just for your information,
Yeah.
It's not going to be up to a few academic researchers. It's not going to be up to a few clinicians who are very good at using AI. It's going to be up to everyone thinking of the impossible dream. This is the equivalent of going to Mars for healthcare.
Oh, that was great.
Sure. Hope you're okay with vitamin water.
Love that.
Sure. It's always good to wet the whistle when we're talking, right?
Yeah, the whistle, yes.
Okay, perfect. Is the audio good?
Yeah, I hear you right now.
Okay. Can we do a mic check? Maybe.
Sure.
And where is the pickup? Where's the pickup? The other one?
It's right here.
Oh, perfect. Okay. In that case, maybe we can move that so it's a. Well, is it picking up both of them? Testing, 1, 2.
Testing.
Testing.
It should
You
be
could
good.
put it closer if you
I
want.
think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Is there gonna be video too, or?
Yes.
Yeah, then it maybe from behind.
Well, we can move the arm so it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's not
On camera.
Falling.
yeah.
Yeah. Closer.
Yeah.
We can also, let's know if we could move somewhere or.
And you know what? This is going to pick up as well. So I think we'll be good.
Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah, I can,
Yeah.
maybe we can
There
share
we go.
this one.
Perfect.
So between us.
Which way do we look?
A combination between the three of us and the camera. Yeah. Cool. You know, and just to make it official, we'll do our fancy song here. Let's see. Very professional. All right, welcome everybody to a special edition of Silicon Zombies, where you get the best brains from the Bay to beyond. We are thrilled to have Dean Felsher and Stephanie Osovich on the show at the SIC, the Stanford Innovation Center Biotech Symposium in San Francisco, California. Thrilled to have you both here, and let's dive right in.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Stephanie, help us understand, what are you excited about to see at the SIC Innovation Symposium here today?
It's very exciting to see all these interesting companies, also to see all these smart students from
Yeah,
Stanford.
it's inspiring
wonderful.
stuff.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be with all these youngsters, and yeah, so many of the investors, other biotech companies, and
Yeah, wonderful. And then, we've got the True Binding folks and all sorts of really innovative companies. Dean, you must get to see all sorts of fascinating companies that are building the medical products of tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a spectacular opportunity to actually get a glimpse at tomorrow by seeing the people who are not only the entrepreneurs with the creative ideas, but also the people who are going to support building these new ideas. And then, as Stephanie said, I'm so proud of my students who are here today. As as a founding director of an education program, for them to have the opportunity to see organically every aspect of company creation and that translation of science, what a phenomenal opportunity.
Yeah, and it does seem we're at a very unique chapter of human history. About a month or so ago, I was at the A4M conference in Vegas and was listening to Peter Attia and how they're curing blindness. And it's just really fascinating time to be alive. Of course, that's in rats, but hopefully, to the transcription phase that things can
Yeah,
will
we also
translate.
have very
Translation.
exciting times. So we're an investor, the Myeloma Investment Fund.
Uh-huh.
And today there was an announcement that we invested in the 100 million Series C of Umoja.
Wow.
That is a company with in vivo CAR T.
Okay.
So this is exciting because cell therapy is usually very complex. It's very expensive. Not all the patients that are eligible can really participate, but this is essentially like a COVID shot, and then the patients can benefit from that. So we're very excited to help to bring this into the clinic.
Can you help us understand a little bit about the science of how it functions?
So traditionally, what you have to do is you take out the T cells from a patient, like a cancer patient, for instance, and then you modify them and you give them back to the patient. So it's really a personalized medicine approach, and that is associated with side effects. So it can only be done in clinical centers.
Sure.
It's very expensive. There's not all the patients who really are eligible can receive it. But with this, basically the modified T cell receptor is encoded in the RNA, and you inject that into the patient, and then basically the patient's immune system and the translational system is expressing the desired receptor.
Wow.
And so we're very excited about that.
Oh, congratulations. It seems like you're working with some fantastic companies. And Dean, likewise, you at Stanford get to work with some incredible companies as well. Perhaps you can share with the audience and the folks that are tuning in a little bit about your role and how you see things, where things are headed for tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to talk about that. What I am most excited about is that we're at a nidus where it seems like the ability to translate ideas in the laboratory into clinical application are happening at a much more exponential pace. And this sort of event is, I think, an example of the sort of networking and synergy that can happen by bringing together all areas that are required to actually take the ideas that will transform human health. In my capacity, I live in Stanford as a professor, and often the challenge is that ideas that we have get stuck in the university. We're able to report them in scientific studies. We're aware that they may have important clinical applications, but it's very difficult to have the ability to bring on board the other aspects that are required to make that transition that Stephanie's described with innovation. I remember when CAR Ts were first discovered, several of the pioneers were our friends. Hello, one of the first companies successful. The chief scientific officer was somebody I trained with as a fellow. The idea had existed for decades, but what Stephanie's described, this ability to make it so it's more generally available, these sort of transitions require interactions that occur at a meeting like this. Truly, I think we could do even better.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully, I know that you're excited about this, and this podcast celebrates the sort of synergy that can happen through making the community more aware of the possibility.
And there's also there's two aspects that are also exciting. There's a panel ongoing about AI in healthcare right now. So that's definitely something that's not just transforming the world.
The energy fuels,
but so we are also we have invested in a company that is using AI to find novel targets from aberrant RNA splicing.
Mm.
So two very hot areas we're
Wow.
very excited about. And the other aspect for those who are tuning in by the visuals, you see I'm wearing pink. So there's still, we're celebrating women in bio
Yeah.
as well. So there was a photo op today on Union Square, and all the women were
Wow.
wearing pink. So yeah,
It's super inspiring for
showcase
the
that.
entrepreneurs of tomorrow, because
Yeah.
as we all know, that about 2% of funding goes to women founders. So one of my favorite quotes is "Misfortune breeds opportunity." So it's a chance to fix something.
Yeah, and here the students see real role models, both investors and also female entrepreneurs, female CEOs. They see that they really exist. It's not just it's in the real world.
Exactly.
It's much like the Waymos here. I had my first Waymo ride yesterday. So it's so cool to see so many of those, and you can order them like an Uber.
Yeah, it's just changing the game. And Waymo, when they started, I think it was about a year and a half ago, I think they had about 12% of the market, and they've over doubled that, my understanding. So very quickly eating Uber's lunch. So we'll see how that all kind of comes to pass. So Dean Felcher, so when I got a chance to, with my wife Sandra, to get a tour of the oncology wet lab department at Stanford recently. Thank you so much for that. That was a real treat. One of the things that struck me is just the sheer amount of brilliant doctors and researchers in your lab. Not so far away from Stanford at NASA, our friend Joseph Manafra, who runs innovation at NASA, he says he approaches his job by bringing really smart people of all different kinds of fields together. So that way we don't get an echo chamber, but instead interesting, unique ideas that could inspire some kind of out-of-the-box thinking. Do you have a similar approach of getting diverse backgrounds, Dean Felcher? Help us understand.
So my philosophy from the beginning has been that the best ideas won't be my ideas. The best ideas will be our ideas as a team in the laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've set up a system in the lab where I encourage people to work together. I encourage people to embrace different areas of understanding. It very much resonates with the theme that Stephanie said of empowering women, because actually most of my laboratory are brilliant women. And most of the people who become faculty from my lab are brilliant women. And I have a brilliant wife who's a professor giving a keynote at a conference as I'm sitting here.
Wow,
with you.
that's a power couple right there.
So often that's the case. So I think it really feeds off of interaction. For example, I remember you coming to the lab. And my lab enjoyed being viewed by an intelligent layperson and being able to describe it to committee. And they are enjoying this process of meeting with, whether it be investors or experts such as yourself, who embrace the realities of technology and discovery. And you can't underestimate the value that has. I remember you asking hard questions, direct questions, personal questions that resonated with me and resonated with my lab. So I actually think this dynamic of providing opportunity for creative thinking, synthetically thinking, group thinking, and allowing other individuals to bring domain expertise I can't imagine. And an element of chance, interaction, spontaneity can often lead to the most exciting discoveries. So all of that, I think, is encompassed in the approach I've taken for discovery in my life.
Wow, beautifully put. And thank you for the kind words. These things, what we're doing now is essentially sharing stories and getting it out there. Kind of similar to how genetics has information that's translated. Well, so does memetics, or is like the sharing of ideas, which is actually where the word meme comes from. Like an internet meme, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it's similar. It's similar also in investing. So the the best investment ideas I actually get from fellow investors because they have done the due diligence on them, and this is where we meet. Yeah, if you have a lot of them together, and there's also even in investing there's diversity because we are a philanthropic fund, so we have donors, not investors, but we are being appreciated for our knowledge of the landscape.
So Stephanie, help us understand a little bit about your thesis, and then maybe, well, let's start there.
Yeah, so we are a mission-driven fund. We're part of the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, a 25-year-old patient foundation that's providing information to patients. It's also running and financing clinical trials.
Wow.
And here we work with pharma companies, but mostly with KOLs and investigators from all the top universities. And through that, we have very good relationships to them, and we have a really good understanding of the disease. And we know exactly where the white space is. So that's why we're so excited about this recent investment, the in vivo CAR T, that's clearly answering an unmet medical need. So multiple myeloma is a blood cancer, and unfortunately, the patients now live longer, but eventually they progress and they die.
Sure.
And that's why we're working on ways to find a cure.
Wow, that's remarkable work. And then you also mentioned a little bit about due diligence. How is that space changing? Because I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so much of proper due diligence are experts and key opinion leaders, to your point, Stephanie, that have a deep technical understanding that can advise on a case-by-case basis. It's kind of a hard nut to crack for AI. So how's that changing, do you think?
Well, there's also innovation in that field. So I mentioned we're putting together this landscape overview of what's on the market in myeloma, what's in research, what's in development, and we have like a super long spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We're visualizing that right now, but in there we are also putting together an overview of what's the white space, so what is still needed to help other investors to help to along with us to invest in companies that address that. But to update this, we're using AI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because everything is changing so quickly.
So rapidly,
and if we want this to be updated constantly, we're using AI, and we're working with some experts that have developed an algorithm. So at the push of a button, we can then have the latest information in our.
That's pretty incredible stuff, because these days, you think you're working on something novel, but then it turns there's maybe 20 or 30 other people that are trying to attack that. If you have a codified, systematic way of looking at all the different, because there's a finite number of applications. In fact, we had Dr. Aubrey de Grey, who spoke at the Ageless Evolution Summit early October. And that was really neat, because he had mentioned that cells die for a number of reasons, but it's not an infinite number of reasons. So like maybe there's intracellular buildup or extracellular buildup or senescence. So if we could attack each one of these, then we could kind of have a cohesive approach at solving the problem of aging. Kind of like, in that capacity.
And it's actually even more integrated than that. Aging and cancer are biologically and mechanistically related. And the disease multiple myeloma is a disease that reflects biological problems that are inherent to the fact that we have an immune system that has certain properties that give it, when the cells are broken, and damaged to be cancer cells. And it turns out that one of the challenges really, and AI will help with this, but also has to be supervised, is realizing the problem is not a linear problem. In my opinion, the problem of solving multiple myeloma will likely solve other problems. The problems to solving cancer will likely solve problems related to aging. And I was telling Stephanie before we started, I had just spoken at a longevity meeting in Shenzhen just a couple of weeks ago. The whole goal of the meeting was to discuss longevity and health. I was the only cancer scientist.
Wow. It's kind of a surprise, given how many parallels there are between the two.
There are really a lot of parallels, and even as you articulated, actually quite accurate. There are only a limited number of ways that cells can die. aging mechanisms, there are also a limited number of ways. And there's relationships between the programs that cause stemness, the ability to live for a long time, and cancer related.
Mhm.
The programs related to death are related to cancer and aging. The programs that are related to different biological signals are very related to cancer.
Really?
For example, the cancer gene that I work on, the Necodex gene, very commonly activated in multiple myeloma. I collaborate with many colleagues in the multiple myeloma space. We've made multiple models of hematopoietic disease, but also is one of the clocks involved in aging. I suspect if we solve one problem, the key will be to relate. And actually, focused work and thoughtful investment in companies related to multiple myeloma, because I'm sure Stephanie realizes being an expert, will solve other cancers. And then there's a lot of relationship. And often the challenge is for us to have enough self-awareness of what has been discovered to be able to apply it more integratively. This is why I think the forum you've created is so particularly important.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's almost like a single puzzle piece can fit in multiple places. And how do we isolate those? Because it could be overwhelming to think like, well, such a huge problem like solving cancer,
By
like
creating programs that aren't just about one disease process, which is why I created Translation Research and Applied Medicine, because I recognized that in academia and industry, we divided each of the diseases, subdivided them, but we were not aware, we did not encourage awareness, particularly for junior people, of how a problem being solved in one disease or one biological problem related to another. We've been doing this for 15 years and supported hundreds of projects.
yeah.
And our graduate program, where the students are here today, are all people more interested in the later translation side.
Yeah, many of these diseases, they share a pathway. So yeah, many of the myeloma companies I work on, they also have an interest in solid tumors and autoimmunity, some even in neurological diseases. So and I worked for some time at Novartis, big pharma company, and there was a pathway group. And rather than thinking in different diseases, you think about which diseases are implicated or influenced by a certain pathway, and then you can develop this too.
So it's almost as their secondary and tertiary kind of like derivative impacts of. I see. Yeah. The whole idea of getting really smart people to attack something with the North Star. It's like a collective group. It's like we're stronger together than we are apart.
It's also this thinking. So I come also from the commercial world. So and I still think it's very good to think about even in the research phase. Yeah, will there be in 10 or 15 years when this comes to the market, will there be a place, to, for a competitive positioning? Or will there be so many drugs on the market already that there's no place? But then I discussed this with the scientists, and she said, well, then you might preclude, if your analysis says, oh, this is quote unquote only a 200 million drug, do you preclude the development of potentially a breakthrough medicine? The example again from Novartis is the CML drug Gleevec, where in the beginning the company thought, well, this is only going to be a 200 million drug, but they didn't recognize that the patients had a normal lifespan and they would have to take this for life. And in the end, it was a $7 billion drug that allowed them to have a normal lifespan and pretty much a normal life.
So it's almost like the total available future market is trying to figure out what that is.
Yes, and so I think it's somewhere in the middle. I mean, it's good to have a framework and to do analyses, but still stay open to scientific discoveries and not to throw out the kid with the bathwater.
That our graduate program is trying to make sure that generate the students get exposure, because there's a tendency in academia to not think about anything to do with commercialization or marketing at all, which is a mistake, because ultimately in academia the goal is to have ideas that change health, which means there have to be products of some sort. And the second goal is to provide provide them with actually formalized experience. So the instruction doesn't occur just from faculty in academia, but also colleagues like Stephanie are invited to talk about their area of expertise.
Yeah.
And it's something most of us try to build things. I'm sure Stephanie, this would resonate with you. Build things that we realized weren't available when we were younger to support what we're excited about. After decades of experience, we realized there was something missing. What was missing that didn't provide. A podcast didn't exist, and it provides a value.
Yeah.
That
The window didn't exist.
That's right. Yeah, I thank you both for sharing that little insight there. It's interesting to me, like, for example, galectin-3 being able to target this. Well, it's a precursor to inflammation, and it's good for us. It's good for our bodies to know when that's happening, right? Because then we know when something's wrong, be it acute inflammation or chronic inflammation. But being able to protect to be able to protect our body. That's essentially what TB006 is doing, this monoclonal antibody, and be able to have like real, meaningful impact on like dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and all these autoimmune diseases and oncology. So it's like we're in a very pretty fascinating chapter of life, and I feel so grateful to get to talk to brilliant folks like yourself, and thankful to Paul, who runs the Stanford Innovation Center. The group that's investing in fantastic startups as well. So Dean Felsher, Stephanie Oshevich, thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you both.
Thank you.
And my pleasure. And while we have you here, perhaps is there a website or some way for folks to be able to connect and learn more about what you're building?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for me, my laboratory has a website, the Dean Felsher Lab at Stanford, and then all the TRAM programs have websites, and there's the TRAM Scholars Program and the TRAM Masters Program. But if you just do a Google search Stanford TRAM, you can learn about our education program. If you do a Google search Felsher Laboratory at Stanford, you can learn more about my research.
Perfect.
The Myeloma Investment Fund has a website, myelomainvestmentfund.org. And I also have a website, managementandmusic.com.
Managementandmusic.com. Perfect. And we'll be sure to include those links in the show notes below. Again, thank you so much, both of you, for joining, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, cheers. Thank you.
Yeah. I kind of. Yeah. Hello. We're emerging technology. So you got a podcast there? Yeah, would you like to hop on here? All wanted me to do something. Who's interviewing me? You're looking at Sheree. Nice to meet you. What do you want to talk about? You want to do multiple people? So, want to attack Actually, come on in. If you'd like. Talk about women's health. Come on.
Thank you.
Right, you want to join too? Sheree. Corner.
Here's
Okay, I'll text you if I can. Great job. Right, you want to be podcasting? Nick, right? Yeah. What do you want to talk about, Nick? We talk about science, we talk about entrepreneurism, maybe mentors, what kids to grow up, what do you say on internet, and new one. When you're working on, we usually do it. Talk like story, right? The stories are where it's at.
More than one person on the podcast?
Good question.
Two? Can you do too many? Can we?
I mean, we could have four.
No, just get two talking.
Yeah,
And the host, three.
yeah. I would just love to have one of the mics in the middle.
Can we talk about
Yeah.
mentorship?
That would be the best.
Sure.
Okay.
In that case, let's move this around the back. What do you think?
Yeah. Are we looking for it now?
Now you want to give away all the secrets.
This all the way to the back.
You know what? Let me move this up. Can you get that link?
Yeah.
I'm gonna move this up so that the audio faces down.
Okay. Move it into like figure right here.
Yeah. That's good. So three will be here, then you'll be there.
If we're gonna have four, doesn't it
No.
make sense?
Just two.
Okay.
Not
good.
ten.
Got it.
Oh, perfect. So one mic there, and then one mic here,
Okay, perfect.
just like we had it.
Do you guys have a water or something?
No, we need one.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to
Where do we
grab
get
a
it?
water. If they want to grab a water.
Do you need a water?
Thanks for. Oh, it's still zombies.
I saw that. I was
Love
like,
brains.
no, I like
Test.
Okay. Tammy's gonna grab water.
Perfect. Perfect.
So Nick, do you want us to like prep you on what we're talking about? Where do you want us?
So,
We'll sit here.
Then I might adjust things around.
Yeah, sure.
Feel free to-
How long is the segment, Nick?
2 hours.
No. No joking.
Mrs. Lunch.
The last one with the Dean Felcher and Stephanie Oshkovich was maybe like 15 minutes.
Okay.
So keep it light, tell good stories. Feel free to make fun of me, whatever. Yeah, just keep it fun. And your name's one more time?
Sharif. Sharif.
Sharif.
Yeah. We're doing first name only. That's good. It's easy.
Ready when you are.
Mic is strongest on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, just utilize this one as
Second it.
primary.
So that'll pick up for him and then this mic.
Testing 5, 6, 7, 8.
That one's happening. This one is the main.
This is the main one. So we're like talking to the camera.
And,
Can you give me 3, 2, 1?
okay, all right. 3, 2.
Welcome everybody to a special edition of Silicon Zombies, where you get the best brains from the Bay to beyond. So we're here with Bree and Sharif, and we're pretty fortunate to meet the Stanford Innovation Center, all the way up in beautiful San Francisco, California. So welcome to the show. Great to have you with us.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
Awesome. So what are you most excited to see today? Sharif, let's start with you.
I don't know what's I'm most excited to see. I love just being in this environment because you just never actually know what you're going to run into, what the topic is, and who you're going to run into. So maybe that's what I'm most excited about. Just
The unknown.
the unknown.
That's very deep and philosophical. And Reed, are you running to some old friends, making new friends too?
Absolutely. Meeting friends and old friends. I think just being able to see a little bit of the future, a little insight on it. It's just 100%. It's exciting to see.
Yeah. So what interests you both in biotech, the future of medicine? What gets you interested specifically?
I think this maybe a good story that Bree and I are working on together is I'm really excited about finding young individuals who have had maybe not the best experiences in healthcare, transforming healthcare. So I'm a pediatric neurologist by training and worked at the Children's Hospital of Orange County, which is now Brady's Health. And we've actually worked and done a lot of mentorship to have patients develop their own ideas and really transform healthcare from the inside out.
This is like a misfortune breeds opportunity. Like when something's wrong, if you're looking at it through the lens of an entrepreneur, this means there's something to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that's part of what Bree and I are working on, and I'm mentoring her.
Yes.
And you also had a good mentor that invested in you, or
Yeah, actually, a good friend, why I came to say hi, is Anthony Chang just got off the stage. So he's been talking about AI in medicine, and he really was a lot of the motivation to get me into the AI field. So I run Cogno, which is a company in the AI space. We made the first diagnostic for autism that leverages AI and went through the FDA. And then I've been just, in general, working on just medical devices with really bright young minds doing what we just talked about.
amazing. And so, Bree, help us understand, like, what are some of the things that you've learned from Sharif, and what interests you in this space as well?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things that interested me in this space was, I would say, my own story. So I have scoliosis, and I was put in this brace, and the doctor put me in this. And then he went and so kind of had to go through a lot of and it's really hard. I think that now that I'm older, I want to make change in the space. And so just talking to you, working with another really young, bright minds, and so I'm excited to just be able to tell the story and be able to help people with scoliosis, and not just scoliosis, but bracing specifically.
So Alyssa's actually a high school student, by the way.
She's
And so as much as Bree is giving and singing my praises about being a great mentor and being inspirational, honestly, actually, the younger the person that I work with, the more inspirational they are for me. Because if I think about myself as even like a high school or middle school student, and the youngest inventor I've worked with has actually started, I think, their journey at I think he was 12 years old when we started working together on a project. He was a co-inventor on a brace that we made called Move D.
And I feel like the entrepreneurs are getting better and better, which is crazy because I remember at San Jose State, the innovation competition, seeing some pretty cool companies, but it just almost feels like the bar is getting set at brand new levels.
Absolutely. And I think that, actually this, going back to maybe that inspiration that we're just talking about AI, I think one of the cool things that has happened is that the AI is a great equalizer, right? And, as much as people are maybe afraid of AI is going to take my job, in a way, I think it actually is freeing us up to be more creative, to do more, to create more things. And so, or even we were literally just talking about hey, let's think about how do we leverage AI. So when we build these sensors into the bracing technology that we're creating, how does that then help us make a 3D map of the body? We could throw that into an algorithm. I'm sure there's one out there that we can just borrow and use, right?
So it's almost like personalized medicine using IoT. Help us understand what is the gap in the market, the value add that you're able to provide that doesn't exist currently.
So I would say one of the biggest things lacking, specifically with scoliosis, is just being able to track and monitor correctly. So with me, I was just something I told about 6 months to see it. Unfortunately, my spine got worse. But I would say that it's just being able to monitor
Yeah, I think that this is a very big trend in medicine, and what we've seen, and I think a lot of the dysfunction in healthcare has become is because we do episodic care, right? As a clinician, I prescribe a med to a patient. I may not see them back in the clinic for 6 months, and I have no idea what's happening in that time frame.
What if you want to know? If you want to keep up to date information.
Exactly. So this is so anytime anybody would brace any patient, they would use the device that we're trying to create, that I'm trying to help mentor the students to create. And so they would wear this under the brace. It would monitor response to treatment. It would monitor for problems.
Wow.
And it would notify not only the clinician, but also, again, I think giving those patients the ability to go, oh, you know what? Hey, my gut is something's wrong. because whether we like it or not, we have to admit gaslighting happens in medicine a lot, you know, and especially for female patients, and like that's a big problem. So now, if I think about Bree's situation, if she had that, you know, undergarment monitoring the bracing, she could have said, hey, you know, doc, something doesn't feel right. And oh, by the way, I have data to support what I'm saying. You can't gaslight me anymore.
That's super powerful. I've got a friend, he's an Egyptian.
We love Egyptians, by the way, because I'm Egyptian.
Oh, really?
Habibi, come to Silicon Valley.
Beautiful.
Okay, sorry.
No, I take it.
Good sideways.
He's a pharmacologist, and he said, well, I know that the doctors that are recommending the right medication, they have the best intentions, but maybe the patient isn't adhering to actually taking medication at the right time, with the right, keeping it the right temperature. So essentially what he did is he created a small lunch pail that was like a mini refrigerator. So for certain medications like autoimmune diseases or for like rheumatoid arthritis, you know, these if the temperature drops too low and it gets too high, it'll develop.
Yeah.
It's like stop working. And also there's the other thing, like the doctors don't know to take it. So you guys triggered me with this when you said IoT. I was like, oh yeah, that's a great point. So if you can make sure that the patient is taking the right medication at the right time,
Well,
or
exactly.
notification the doctor runs out.
Exactly. Well, in the same way, this would monitor, like, are you actually wearing the brace? Is it actually applying pressure in the right place? You know, how long are you wearing the brace? Because again, too, like, I feel like doctors do this a lot. We'll like over exaggerate what we want you to do because we know you're not going to do exactly the thing. And so, but like, Bree was a really good patient. And he's like, wear the brace 24/7. And she's like, I'm wearing it 24/7. Yeah, but to her detriment, though, right? So we don't want that, right? So instead of like overestimating or underestimating, why don't we just actually do the right thing? Right? This is like a Goldilocks story, right? It's like Goldilocks and the three bears shot, right?
Those two is like when he fitted me in the brace just a little bit.
Not me.
He did not.
The other dude. I was not there.
Whoa, shots fired.
A different doctor.
Okay. Okay.
He did not know what he was doing. So like I think with having that brace, oh my gosh, it would be able to like, you're putting this on.
Interesting.
So also like fitting the initial brace.
Yeah. Yeah, because you want to set yourself up for success.
So look, you can do better, right? And I think you always want to think about like quintuple aim, right? So can you improve satisfaction for the patient? Can you improve satisfaction for the clinician? And look, if you brace the wrong way or the brace isn't working, you're going to get complications, right? And that's going to cost the healthcare system more money. So why wouldn't you do something to monitor better? And honestly, again, with all the technologies that are coming out, I feel like this would be a really low-cost solution that would improve bracing significantly. So when we were chatting, Bree, myself, and Alyssa about this, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys run with this. Let me help you think about this.
Oh, it seems like you've got a bunch of complementary, really bright brains. Like zombies love brains. All kind of like working together.
That's why I'm a neurologist, right? You ever watch iZombie? She's like works in a morgue, and that's how she eats the brains.
No, but
I'm a neurologist. I just peripherally eat the brains.
Okay. Well, we're
Watch it on Netflix. I think it's still on there.
Okay. Nice. So perhaps aside from Netflix recommendation, do you have a website that maybe the folks at home can?
We don't. This is super stealth. We haven't even really settled on the name.
Okay.
But
We are live.
but-
So even-
that's fine. No, I know. We're gonna straight. I think Bree, what best person to get to is Bree. I'm just like here for my good luck. So
Yes. You can find us on LinkedIn. So I'm Brianna Holiday. HALMADY.
if you find her, you'll find me. That's fine.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
being on the
Great
show.
seeing us, Nick.
Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and shout out to Paul Gruel and the SIC team
Yes.
for hosting this one.
Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
so much.
For sure. Okay. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.